I'm here today with Nicole Allen, a client from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and she's going to share with us her experiences and thoughts on the Team Builder Leadership Institute's Dynamic Guide Professional Leadership Standard. So Nicole, sort of, if you would, just tell us what the results you got and how you feel about what the standard has done for you.
Hi, Tony. I'm happy to do that. My background is Vice President of Operations for an organization that served mental health clients. So we were in families' homes, providing service lines that were evidence-based programs, had various standards, regulations, and initiatives that we were following to be a top competitor. And the challenge is that as we were growing in a growing organization, we had lots of ideas and opinions, had new laws and regulations that were coming into fruition, and we needed to make sure that services were being upheld, that our bottom line was being reached, and we wanted to be able to develop people as best as we could. So I wanted to make sure that my skills were continuing to advance. Sometimes you get so bogged down in work that you want to make sure that people are doing the same detail as you started out with, and that's where I was in my stage of leadership development. And we're a growing company.
So what kind of challenges, I guess, would you say that led you to start seeking more skills? What kind of things were you facing in your organization? Was it growth? What were the challenges?
Yeah, a lot of growth, and we didn't have a standard of leadership. So we were a company that definitely believed in promoting from within, and we were finding that we had some turnover, which was a great thing for people moving up, but not necessarily the tools to be able to develop them the way that we wanted to. We wanted to prevent any type of negative discharges because of not having good leadership programs, and we were all developing. So. And changing the state laws, you need to really keep up on some of those things. Right.
And so your organization really didn't have a very efficient leadership succession plan?
No, I mean, because it was still in its birth, it didn't have. When somebody did a great job, we knew that they had the skills to be able to mirror those things in the field, but not necessarily lead their own staff.
Right. So you found that actually being a good, let's say, technical person, in other words, you have certain technical skills, doesn't necessarily make you a good leader.
That's right. And then you'd have, yeah, absolutely. And I was certainly seeing, when you have somebody doing something that made not necessarily a good judgment call, you had to make a policy on top of that. And so we spent a lot of time creating different policies and trying to band-aid things instead of get to the solution of it. And additionally, making sure that everybody, because we were growing across states and had a national organization, we needed to make sure there was some quality assurance to it. I mean, quality assurance is huge in any company, including the mental health service system. And we wanted to make sure people were cross-trained. We wanted to make sure that if I needed you in this particular area, that you could do it in this particular area. If we sent a leader somewhere else, that they were not complaining about their leadership style and not getting opinions and conflicting personalities in the way. And so
okay, so you needed some standardization, so all leaders use a set of behaviors and skills. So no matter what leader interacted with what employee, they had the same foundational answers and directions and focused on the goals.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it was affecting our bottom line, and we knew it was.
Okay, so it affected your bottom line. You were not getting the growth you wanted, or the profit margin you wanted. How did it affect you guys?
It affected us in terms of being able to provide the services we stated we were going to our stakeholders.
Okay.
To be able to provide the quality of service we wanted to, that was impeding us. And so, because we needed, every cog in the wheel of a company is just as important as the other. And the reason I say that is because when you don't have good leadership, people tend to work in silos, and we didn't want that to continue to happen. And so it was affecting our ability for people to provide the quality services we said we were going to do. And that affects your bottom line. If we don't get the hours in and give, our stakeholders what they needed, we weren't able to get that return on investment.
Right. So you actually purchased the program, and you're the one who actually began implementing that standard throughout your organization, correct?
That's correct. I had taken a program management course from you, and had then gone from there to look at the Team Builders Leadership Institute and knew this is exactly what it is that we needed. And I also personally wanted to continue to grow. I believe that all good leaders that have the courage to look inside and say, I want to do a better job because I know that I want to improve and move up and make my mark and provide something else to others. That's what I wanted.
Okay.
And
And so, what kind of results did you get from it, Nicole? What did it do for you?
we the focus of the Team Builders program focuses a lot on communication skills and really brings everybody back to the core values of why they are working in their field, in their organization as it is. So for us, it helped people to focus. It helped them to know that they were coming work not for a paycheck, but to reach their goals, uh, and to get them back to the basics of what we were really doing. And they knew what the standards were. It was a huge piece to say, I know what's expected of me, I'm able to get it done, and then we were able to weed out who was able to do what they needed to do, and then could decide whether or not they were willing to do what they needed to do in order to meet our goals as a company to be the best provider that we could be in the market.
Did you find that to be very helpful to know which conversation to have? You know, can they or can't they do it, or are they willing or not willing to do it?
Huge, huge. I can't even explain it. And our human resources department, obviously small, but was extremely important. You spend research shows, and certainly I learned this from Team Builders Institute, 40 to 60% of the time is spent on interpersonal conflicts and dealing with things that are not work related. It's get the job done and arguing. It's people skills. Thank you. And being able to communicate what the bottom line goals are kept everybody focused. It was a big piece of the way that we restructured our internal reviews. We went from annual reviews and stopped doing them all together. We had the whole team create our monthly reviews so people knew what the standards were. And the staff reported that they felt better. They knew what was expected of them because they were getting yelled at constantly. Not because any of our team wanted to, but because we had 26 different branches, 3 different states with different regulations and standards, but the same product needed to be delivered.
Right.
And being able to adhere to those things with communication, understanding the personality styles, and teaching our leadership team how to let people be who they needed to be and still get the job done is a huge impact. And that the way that we change our whole review process for every role, it was line staff to our secretaries to our middle management, and we had a pretty flat management system, huge. And they all created it themselves. And it's a paradigm shift. It's a paradigm shift of thinking.
Right. So did you find that when you're communicating to people and you can do it without being accusatory, in other words, you can focus them on what result we need and how we can get there, did you find that actually removes a lot of resentment and negativity from the work environment?
Not only does it remove negativity and resentment, it allowed people to come up with their own solutions and not complaining about their job. It was, oh, I think I could get it done this way. I know what the goal is and I know what I need to get done. But now I could do it a little bit better. I'll get off Facebook. I'll get off my social media. I'll take my breaks at a different time. I'll do this before or after work. And I'll work with somebody collaboratively to get it done. And we figured out ways to help personality styles to get together so that if one was a certain way that was good at getting the standards down and knew what the regulations and laws were, and we had someone else who was a little bit more creative, we could pair them together, talk, and get the projects done much quicker without the adversity of it because they knew what the goal was. So it was stress less, less tension, a lot more collaboration, and people were happier.
So if you look at that from the bottom line, that means that you saved money because your salaries being paid actually equaled more productivity, and you helped more customers, so it also increased your profit. Is that a safe assumption there, or?
And it's a safe assumption, and not only that, our success stories were the customer satisfaction reports were the true mark of that, because we have repeat contracts, increased contracts, word of mouth spread, and you become a good provider. No matter what industry it's in, this is what it does.
Excellent. Okay. So what would you say it did most for you as a person, as an individual leader? What would you say was the biggest benefit of the Dynamic Guide Professional Leadership Standard?
It gave me a plethora of tools to use for different styles. When I would have an idea, I tended to be, and personally tended to be pretty creative, but not as direct as what needed to happen. And I was able to express myself in a way that allowed people to understand where I was going with a concept that benefited everyone. Not my personal belief system, not my values, but because we had standards or regulations or changes, It was a change process that helped people to understand and believe in what we were believing in as a company, and not just I'm doing it because I said so, and not that I did that personally, but people would tend to think that if that language was happening from leadership, which stopped happening.
Excellent. So I know there's a lot of CEOs watching this and a lot of people, leaders in leadership positions, and they wonder, so, okay, that's all great. It improves communication, makes it more efficient. Everybody's more focused on what they're there for. We're getting more actual productivity out of them. But bottom line, what did it do for the ROI? What did it do for the bottom line of the company?
Our productivity increased. We had a standard of between 95 and 100%. 100% obviously is the goal of providing the services. And because we had a different accounting system, accountability system in terms of people knowing what the standards were, what the goals were, we had less absences, less turnover. Our training program improved, our consistency across states and programs and service lines, and we had well over 15, well over multiple evidence-based programs. Our focus allowed us to focus on new initiatives, which kept us ahead of the pack. We were able to join boards, trade commissions, go to trade shows, all the things, and bring in additional service lines, because our focus was not on personal conflicts, who's absent, who's not, who's having a complaint, and it was on where we're going to go next, because that allowed people to expand and grow and get different opportunities and have the skills they needed to do it. Without question, that's what the program has done for our return on investment. We saw productivity hit from the 80 marks, and if one branch of our organization was a little bit deficient or was not operating that way, we had the tools to be able to go in and go, aha, here's this, what can we do about it? Personality conflict, let's help them. And we use the charts that are with the Team Builders Leadership Guide to know where someone was in terms of skills and abilities versus personality and some conflicts. And then we're able to know whether or not it was an attitude adjustment, whether or not it was our leader's adjustment, or whether or not we needed additional skills. And providing the statistics to our team to understand that most people, when they teach something, may not necessarily have the patience to say, I taught it to you, get it done. It takes at least 6 times to really understand 90%. And when I drilled that in, and I say I, not we, when I drilled that in until everybody was able to get it, they started to have a lot more patience for their teams. And as they did that, the tension went down, the stress went up. Oh, I get it. Did you do this until they're demonstrating efficacy? If you didn't, you as the leader are responsible. If you come into my kitchen and I'm going to teach you how to cook, I better show you where all the ingredients are. That's what this program does for you as a leader.
Fantastic. Well, Nicole Allen, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your experience with our program. And for all you viewers, thank you, and thank you again for listening to our program. Thank you.
Thank you.